Okay, I'm going for it. What do you want, a pepper or chip?
Hopefully.
Hey! Okay, so today is such a good day for you to be on here because I'm gonna be sharing some fantastic dips with you. We have Super Bowl coming around in like 3 weeks, and I don't know about you guys, but we actually really don't even watch the Super Bowl. We just like to have it on in the background, and then we'll like watch the commercials and the halftime, but what we really love is all the snacks and the fun, yummy munchies that we get to eat all day long. So these dips, they're just not for Super Bowl. These are like perfect for game night or if you're gonna have some friends over and play cards. These dips are absolutely delicious. They're so easy to make. And I promise you guys, your guests are gonna love them. Your family's gonna love them. There's something about just like simple food. And chips and dip, veggies and dip, like to me, that's usually what I gravitate towards if somebody's hosting a party or if I'm hosting something. I just like to have more like a simple, easy thing that people can eat with their fingers. And hey, if we haven't met before, my name is Ange. Welcome, and this is the Menu Made Kitchen. Okay, so this first recipe I'm sharing with you is called chicken enchilada dip. If you've never had a dip like this before, it is so good. It could practically be a meal. There's a lot of ingredients, a lot of hearty ingredients like corn and beans and chicken, and it's just in this like creamy mixture. It's almost like a casserole. But we've actually used it for leftovers the next day to make a meal. I've put it into tacos, I've wrapped it in tortillas and made burritos with it. It's so yummy. I'm so excited for you guys to try this one. All right, so for our chicken enchilada dip, I have a large bowl here. This is the only bowl that you will need. We're gonna add in 1 block or 8-ounce block of softened cream cheese. You can do regular cream cheese or light cream cheese. And then I also have a cup of sour cream. On my website, I use non-fat Greek yogurt. So this is light sour cream. This is what I had on hand, so this is what I'm gonna use today, so we'll add this in. So on my website, you actually use a hand mixer to mix these ingredients together, but in all honesty, I didn't want to pull all that stuff out, so I'm just gonna do it by hand. Plus my cream cheese is really soft, so I think it'll be just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mixed up until it's nice and creamy and combined. All right, that is perfect. Okay, so next we're gonna add in our enchilada sauce. I just have mild enchilada sauce here. This is a 10-ounce can, so we'll pour that in. You could even do like the green enchilada sauce. That would be really good. And then we're also gonna add in 14.5-ounce can of diced fire roasted tomatoes, and I've drained these. There's still a little bit of liquid in there, but that's totally fine. So we'll add that in. The fire roasted tomatoes really adds great flavor. So if you can find those, that really is best. And then for our seasonings, I've got 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic, a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, and then we have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a little bit of black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon. So we'll pour that in. So I'm just gonna get this portion mixed up so that I can combine the enchilada sauce and the tomatoes with the cream cheese mixture. And then we'll add in our beans and corn and chicken. Okay, so next we'll add in a can of drained black beans. These are low sodium. And then I also have a drained can of Mexicorn. This has peppers and sweet corn. And this is a 11-ounce can. We'll pour that in. My website calls for a 9-ounce bag of peppers and corn, but this is what I found, so this is what I'm using. And then we're also gonna add in 3 cups of our shredded chicken. I just put this in a slow cooker, a couple of chicken breasts early this morning, and it took maybe 2 hours on high, shredded it, so it was perfect for this recipe. But you could do a rotisserie chicken. If you've got some leftover chicken in your freezer, you can pull that out and thaw it. That would be perfect for this kind of recipe because it bakes with all the other ingredients. So we'll just mix this together. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of like Mexican style cheese. I happen to have some Monterey Jack and cheddar, so I'm just gonna do about half of this. We'll put this in here and then we'll add the other half on top. Fold this in. So I'm gonna get myself a baking dish sprayed with nonstick cooking spray, and then we can add this mixture. All right, so in the name of football season, this does look like a football, actually. So we'll just spray this with nonstick cooking spray. So we'll just spread this out just in a nice single layer. Okay, and then we'll just add our remaining cheese over the top of this. And we're just gonna cover this with foil and bake it for about 25 minutes. I'm gonna pull the foil off and we'll bake it another 5 minutes just to kind of brown the top a little bit. You can definitely add more cheese, but this is so creamy with the cream cheese. I just feel like this is the perfect amount. I am telling you, if you make this for a party or like football, a football game or Super Bowl or whatever you decide to make this for, people are gonna go nuts for it. Chicken enchilada dip for your next party, you're gonna love it. All right, so this next recipe is my homemade French onion dip. So whenever we go to like a casual party, somebody always brings like the French onion dip with the potato chips. Like that's just a staple. And we usually, even at our family gatherings, will have French onion dip and potato chips because the kids love it. But this homemade version is so stinking easy to make. So if you don't have the packets on hand, I always have these ingredients on hand, you know, bouillon, and some basic pantry seasonings and sour cream, like super easy. You do want to set it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes just to let the ingredients kind of marry together, but I'm telling you, it is so delicious. Yeah, if you're in a pinch and you don't have the Lipton onion soup mix packets, this homemade version will win the hearts of everyone. Okay, so if you have never made a homemade French onion dip before, you're gonna love how easy it is to make. So we're gonna start with a cup of full fat sour cream. You could also do light, but this just gives it that rich, classic French onion kind of texture. So we're gonna add in 1 cup to our little small bowl here. And there was about a cup left in here. I'm just gonna use all of it. It might be a little bit more than a cup, but that's fine. You can always adjust the seasonings. And then for that classic, like French onion taste, we're gonna do better than bouillon paste. So I'm gonna do a teaspoon of this. Okay, I had to get myself a little spoon here so I could get that out. All right. And then we've got just some really simple pantry seasonings. I've got a tablespoon of dried minced onion, a teaspoon of dried onion powder, just a pinch of garlic. I don't want this to be super heavy on the garlic. I just wanted a touch of it. And then 1/2 teaspoon of dried onion or dried chives, I'm sorry. And then we've got 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. So all of that goes in here. And that's it for the ingredients. It's so fast and easy. You just mix everything together until it's fully combined. And then I'm gonna pop this in the refrigerator for at least an hour. It definitely tastes, the flavors will have a chance to kind of marry together. So it's definitely better if you can let it sit in the refrigerator for at least an hour before serving. I love having this on hand too, just for other recipes, like my tater tot casserole on my website actually calls for 1/2 cup of French onion dip. So usually I'll just add this. If I make a batch of this, I usually try to do like a tater tot casserole. This French onion dip in the tater tot casserole, it just makes it totally elevates the flavor so much better than adding that extra can of cream of whatever that you put in there. And I also wanted to give you another option. So my best friend for the last 2 Christmases has made me this little batch of dried onion mix. And I believe that this does have the dried beef bouillon in it, along with the minced onion and the other spices that we used. And I'll link this recipe in the descriptions as well if that's what you have on hand. That way you can do a dried mix of it, and then you just add it to sour cream. It's super delicious. So this is nice to have on hand as well, especially if I don't have the paste, but I always have this because I cook so much with the beef base. But so there's another option for you if you don't have the better than bouillon paste. All right, so this is ready to go into the refrigerator, and we'll let this sit about an hour and it will be ready to taste. All right, our onion dip has been in the refrigerator, and you can't have French onion dip without potato chips. Like, that's just the classic partner. I do have something else that I'm gonna try it with. It's my little secret. My best friend told me about it years ago, and it's so delicious. So it's a fun thing to set out as well as the potato chips. But we're gonna try it first with these, and then we'll pull out our other secret little dipper. Okay, am I like pure gluttony right now? I don't wanna have to transfer it to a bowl. This is just so much easier. So good, look at that. Seriously, so delicious. It's got just the right amount of onion flavor It's so creamy, of course, from the sour cream. Salty, like the perfect dip. Great for parties, football parties especially. Like, you gotta have onion dip at a football party or some kind of a just a fun, casual event that you might be hosting. All right, let's get out my other little secret dipper that I love to do French onion in. Good old Frito scoops, like so yummy with French onion dip. That corn taste with the onion dip, I don't know what it is, but it's so yummy. I'm gonna try to find a smaller chip here. Let's get a little scoop of it. Yum. Okay. Oh yeah. I don't know what I like better. I feel like these are just different, so it's something fun to have for a change. You could also have like veggie sticks for those that might be wanting to do the more lower calorie, lighter carb option, but the Fritos and the potato chips, it's where it's at. Okay, so this next recipe is actually a brand new recipe on my website. It's called Slow Cooker Crack Corn Dip. So you know, if there is a recipe that has the word crack in it, you know it's gonna be rich and delicious, and that's exactly what this is. So I wanted to have a recipe on my website that was kind of that street corn-esque vibes. My husband loves street corn, and whenever we go to a Mexican restaurant and they have that on the appetizer, he always orders it. And so I made this for him the first time, and he was like, whoa. He always gives me like this look. It's this look that he has when I know I've hit the nail, like it's bomb. And this dip is so delicious and rich, and it's just fun and different. I feel like it's a little bit different than like your traditional dips that people show up with at a party. Your guests will love it, your family will love it, and it's an awesome recipe because you just throw everything in the slow cooker, you let it kind of heat up and warm through until it's cheesy and melted and hot and bubbly, and serve it with chips and veggie sticks. It's so, so good. All right, I've got about a 6-quart slow cooker here. You probably don't need one this big, but this is what I have. So we're gonna add 3 cups of frozen corn kernels to the bottom of our slow cooker. You can also do like a couple of cans of drained corn. And next I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning and 1 tablespoon of ranch seasoning mix. You can do a homemade version. These are just store brands, just to make this super convenient. So I'll add this in. And then I'm just gonna toss the corn and the seasonings together first before I add the cream cheese and the sour cream, because the cream cheese isn't melted yet, and I wanna make sure that the seasonings incorporate well with the corn. All right, next I've got 2 jalapenos that I've seeded and diced. I saved a few on the side, maybe a couple tablespoons just to scatter over the top. So I'm gonna add these in. If you want it spicier, of course, you can leave the seeds, but this is actually a pretty spicy jalapeno. And next I've got 1 cup of just a Mexican blend cheese that I bought at the store that was already pre-shredded. You can definitely shred your own. I prefer to shred my own, but I want to be lazy with this recipe, so I'll add that in. And then we're also gonna add in 3/4 cup of sour cream. I'm just gonna eyeball this because I don't wanna have to dirty a measuring cup. So that looks like about 3/4 cup. And then last, to add into the slow cooker, we're gonna do 1 block of cream cheese. I've just put these into squares so that they'll melt down a little bit faster, but you can certainly just throw the whole block in. So I'm just gonna scatter these around. And at this point, we don't even have to stir anything. I'm just gonna pop the lid on, and we're gonna cook this about 2 hours, and I'm just gonna stir it occasionally just as everything starts to settle and melt. And then we'll add a couple more ingredients at the very end and get to dive in. Our slow cooker corn dip has finished cooking, and I'm just going to transfer it over here into our small bowl, and then I'll top it with a little bit of cilantro. I've got a squeeze of lime juice, some extra chopped jalapenos that I saved, and then I'm just going to crumble on a little bit of this queso fresco cheese. This is definitely optional, but I think it just looks so pretty. And then I'm just going to add some lime wedges kind of in the cilantro here. This is just for decoration, but people can definitely grab the limes and squeeze it over the corn for kind of a fresh flavor. Okay, I'm going for it. We're gonna do some peppers and chips. All right, so we got our chip. I mean, that's just classic. You guys, this is so delicious and creamy, and that's sweet corn, and it's not too spicy for me. But like I said, you can definitely add like pepper jack cheese, or if you want it to be super spicy, then leave in the seeds. And you get that hint of like taco seasoning. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And my husband's so excited. I gave him a little sample earlier. What do you want, a pepper or chip?
The whole plate.
The whole plate. Hey! Okay, what do you want? Do you want peppers or chip?
Chip. This stuff's probably one of the best stuff I've seen that you've made.
That I've made?
Yeah.
We've been together 25 years.
Yeah.
Oh. See, this is what happens when he works from home on Fridays. He's in here, he's trying the stuff, but that's good because then I know for sure, like if it's gonna be a winner, if it's going on the blog, okay, I'm gonna try it with the pepper. So I just did peppers because I thought that would be kind of a fun thing to have on the side. Always chips, but like that fresh, crunchy pepper. I'm not going for the low carb thing because this dip really isn't low carb. It's got a lot of corn in it, but the peppers I just thought were perfect. Little boats to hold all this goodness. I don't know what I like better though, because this just really gives it kind of a fresh flavor. I think either way, I could grab a spoon and eat this stuff. All right, so this next recipe is really just a classic in my opinion when it comes to like casual parties or football parties. Like you gotta have a bean dip, right? So this 7-layer taco bean dip is so yummy. And of course you can go to the store and buy the pre-made ones, but it is so easy to make at home and it is way better. Like the flavors are a lot fresher. I also have a hot bean dip on my website that's super yummy. I've been making it for years, so I'll link that in the descriptions. But the 7-layer taco bean dip is actually served cold. You just layer the ingredients, pop it in the fridge for 30 minutes to an hour, and it is ready to serve with chips. Your guests will love it, you will love it. It's definitely a classic. I'm so excited for you guys to try this. Okay, so for our 7-layer taco dip, I've got a 1.5 quart kind of baking dish here, but we're not gonna be baking anything, so you can really use any kind of larger style dish like this. You definitely want there to be at least a couple inches of lip around the edge because we're going to be building the layers. So this comes together super fast. I love this recipe because you can make this ahead of time or even last minute if you just don't know what to make. You can throw this together super quickly. So we're going to start with a can of refried beans. I'm just going to add these in. I'm just going to spread this out into an even layer, making sure to get to the edges. And it's not going to look like a lot, but once you start building everything, it'll be perfect. You'll have like the perfect bite on your chip. You can use the refried beans with green chilies. You can use the spicy one, really any kind of refried beans, like your favorite brand or favorite flavor. And next I'm going to add a cup of sour cream, and I'm just going to eyeball this. I've made this recipe so many times, I kind of know what I'm going for. That looks like about a cup. You just want to be careful not to mix anything, so just kind of use the back of your spoon to spread it really gently. And then next I'm going to add on my tomatoes. I've got about a cup of Roma tomatoes that I've diced, and I've removed some of the seeds on the inside, but I'm not really too worried about it. So I'll just scatter this over the top. And you can just use your spoon or your hands and just create another layer. And then we're going to add some avocado. So on my website, I have in the recipe ingredients a couple of fresh avocados mashed with lime juice, but I really like this brand at the grocery store. So if I don't have avocados on hand, or I just want to make things more simple on myself, then I'll buy this brand. This has fresh avocados in it, a couple spices. It's really flavorful, and I feel like it adds a lot of flavor to this dip. So I'm just going to add about a cup or so. And again, we just kind of want to spread this out as gently as possible over the tomatoes. Okay, and then next I'm going to add a whole can of black olives. If you want to reserve some olives for the top, you can definitely do that. I think that I have that on my website where I just scatter a few olives over the top of the cheese once I finish everything, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to add it all to this layer here. Okay, and then next I've got a can of green chilies. I've drained this just a little bit. I just kind of wanted to get off that surface liquid, but it'll still have some moisture, and that's totally fine. So I'm just going to scatter this over the top. Spread that out. Okay, and then for our 7th layer, I'm gonna do a cup of cheese. I've got some Colby Jack here. You can do a Mexican blend. You can do pepper jack if you want it a little spicier. You can really get creative with the cheese. And I'm just doing store-bought shredded because I wanted this to be super simple. Okay, this is 7 layers, but I am gonna add on an 8th layer. I'm gonna do a few green onions just because I like that little bit of green on top. So technically we have 8 layers, but who's counting? At this point, it's just gonna be delicious, that's all. Guys, I completely forgot the most important ingredient in this because this is a taco 7-layer bean dip, and that's the taco seasoning. And that was supposed to go somewhere like 3 layers down, but that's okay. I can't really do anything about it now. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of taco seasoning over the top and it'll be just fine. Normally you would add like 2 or 3 tablespoons after you've added the tomatoes. It totally makes this dip, like adding that taco seasoning. But we're just gonna improvise because, you know, we're just home cooks and we don't always make the best of decisions. And it's even more challenging when you're trying to do a video. So I'll just do a little taco seasoning over the top of the cheese and onions. It'll be great and it'll give it wonderful flavor. Perfect. And actually that looks really pretty. So maybe this is going to be a new thing. Maybe I'm going to go into my website and edit this out because it's going to be so much better this way. You never know. Okay, so at this point, you can definitely dive into it, but I'm going to pop this in the fridge. I'm going to cover it with foil and we'll let it sit in the fridge for at least an hour. You can definitely make this up to a day in advance. So it's great for make ahead, like I said. So I'm going to get this into the refrigerator. We'll let it sit for an hour and then we'll give it a try. Our taco bean dip has been chilled and it's ready for me. So I like to serve this with like Fritos or really any kind of chip, but it is just classic to have like a bean dip at a party or a football party. You gotta have some kind of a bean dip, and this 7-layer taco bean dip is so good, super flavorful, and you saw how easy it was to put together. The freshness from those tomatoes and that guacamole, the taco seasoning, it works. Like putting it on top, it tastes exactly the same as when I would do it in between the layers. I'm so glad that I remembered, and I'm glad that I wasn't afraid to just put it on because I'm telling you, the taco seasoning really just, it's like the cherry on the top. You could add like a little bit of green Tabasco or maybe some jalapenos if you wanted it to be a little bit spicier. But you know me, I'm kind of a wuss. This is perfect for me. You know what I really like with this bean dip? It's gonna be really weird, but I like celery sticks with it. So make sure to set out some crunchy vegetables. For those that maybe don't want chips, I don't know who wouldn't, but vegetables, it's so good on celery. Like it's one of my favorite things to have with this bean dip. I'm so excited for you guys to try this bean dip. Well, I am so glad that you spent some time in the kitchen with me today, and of course I hope you felt inspired to try something new. I'd love to know in the comments which recipes you loved and tried, and don't forget you can find all the recipe links in the descriptions. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Tap the subscribe button and the little bell next to it. That'll notify you every time I post a new video. I hope you guys have a blessed week and enjoy these recipes, and we will see you next time.